is a little bit how some of the basic enablers of cloud computing have evolved over the years. And cloud has primarily been a journey of evolution. And along with the enablers, there have been several disruptions in terms of thinking, in terms of service-oriented approach that would be needed. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And I will give you also a few examples of how our customers are deploying cloud products and solutions today. And very important, I'd like to end with the perspective of how we are enabling our channel partners to deal with the emerging solutions. So the basic attributes of cloud solutions are all aligned towards high uptime, the ability to scale up and down, to be elastic or to scale according to demand, and to be able to provide users, which could be enterprises, service providers, retail users, a certain amount of guaranteed response time to their application requirements. Now, I would like to map this slide. I would like you to map this slide to what is coming next. And further on, I've added two more components, which is in terms of sharing of services and metering in terms of chargeback and so on. So what I would like to point out is a lot of the basic platform attributes have evolved as a part of our systems for actually a couple of decades. So I'd like to draw your attention to this particular graphic, where if you look at right from the mid-70s, when we deployed the non-stop or the fault-tolerant systems, and so on. Now, fault-tolerant systems today run systems like stock exchanges, so they are probably the most evolved or the most capable in terms of being able to host cloud services. But these systems are a little niche, so I'll move my focus to the VMS and the Unix-based systems, which are ones that we find more popularly deployed in small banks or large banks, small manufacturing organizations or large manufacturing organizations. And I just want to point out one single attribute, that of guaranteed response times. For instance, as an example, the HP's Unix environment has been able to provide you guaranteed response times for applications right since the early 90s. So we've had resource management capabilities for 17, 18 years now. So I think it would not be incorrect to say that we've been doing cloud computing for close to 2 decades. Now, over the past 10, 12 years, we have changed the form factors. We moved into blade form factor very strongly. We introduced server virtualization and storage virtualization in the early part of this decade. And again, in the early part of this decade, we started investing in R&D in terms of to be able to provide as an end result in infrastructure, servers and storage, which run with less power and which also emit less heat. So the power, thermal and the power equations were top of our mind right from the early part of this decade, and as a result of that, we actually launched such platforms fairly long ago. Now, looking at the right side of the screen, which is more an evolution of a lot of software, a lot of virtualization, automation, policies, and so on, which really helps in the deployment of shared services governed by policies, and again to be able to provide the user a certain amount of guaranteed response time or a user experience. So this captures in one slide our evolution towards what we refer to today as cloud computing, and which the foundation of which is it's all about shared services. And the way that we see deployments move over the past few years is that from today's primarily owned infrastructure and applications, we probably move in several ways, where a business will own either all of it or none of it, or it could be in between, where the services could be hosted with service providers and the ownership could vary from different levels, which could include the core infrastructure itself or the platform, which is the infrastructure plus operating environment, or it could be applications as well as the data sources. So there will be a certain percentage of business who will likely own no IT infrastructure, and all that they run, the services that they consume, the services that they run, will be hosted off service providers' infrastructure. What this needs in terms of an architecture and how this can succeed in terms of deployment is a layered approach, an open, standards-based layered approach. And what a user or what an enterprise will see is a portal. To put it very simply, it will be a self-service catalog with a portal. And individuals, based on their profiles, based on their roles, will have access to certain applications, which they will ask for. And once the event is processed, the application gets provisioned, it will get used, consumed by the user. And after use, the system will again report out in terms of metering or usage, and it could be a chargeback mechanism or whatever. And then the environment gets deprovisioned, allowing other users to use that particular environment. So it's highly iterative, it's highly feedback-based system, where based on policies, based on demands, and based on user requirements, the system will be able to provision the required applications and the data. Now, all this will be governed very strongly by compliance, by security, and various types of business or industry or government-related policies. The question that comes to mind is how will our role change as a supplier of systems of OEMs? How will the role of our partners change, customers change? So we believe that the IT departments of most user organizations, or the CIOs, will over time evolve to becoming more of an aggregator of services. Now these services could be literally running anywhere in the world. It could be running within their premises, or it could be a service that they do not own at all, but they use it on as required, which could be running on various service providers' infrastructure, anywhere at all. And services, again, will be of various categories, which could include compute, data, networking. And the infrastructure could be managed by the customer or by our partners. Right? So the way we see it is that as a result of the several enablers like automation, clustering, virtualization, wireless, a lot of advances in the client ecosystem, for instance, and a lot of disruptions in terms of thinking. The willingness of businesses to look at this kind of shared services model, and also the way in which application design and data design have evolved over the years. We see that the opportunity for our channel partners is several opportunities. It's not going to diminish, it's going to increase in various ways. A large requirement will be to really think outside in, or to think service down to the application, to have a view of the business first and technology next. Probably, as you mentioned, a consultative approach rather than an infrastructure-led approach. And that is what we see is going to be the change in terms of the way, in fact, all of us have to gradually start thinking. A certain attribute that is sometimes not often thought about is that of data. But I'm glad to bring to your attention that a lot of advances have happened in the data space, in terms of data management, information lifecycle, in terms of data availability, disaster tolerance, and virtually 100% availability of data. Now, what this is going to evolve into is an increased amount of confidence in our customers, in our partners, and in consultants to be able to ensure or be able to see the deployment of shared services which are distributed across, could be distributed across various corners of the world as well. I'd like to give you two examples of customers who are actually using HP's, we could refer to it loosely as a cloud-in-a-box platform, but it's a bit of a, I don't want to make it sound so trivial, but it's an environment that we refer to in terms of name as the Blade System Matrix. And this particular environment has all the attributes in terms of availability, virtualization, being able to templatize applications, being able to specifically define in terms of applications and data sources who are the users and who are the consumers, and under what policies or what conditions it can be used, including chargeback mechanisms and so on. So we have an example of the SR group that is actually consolidating its several group companies under one single shared infrastructure, and the results are reduced amount of infrastructure, easier deployment, very quick deployment of applications and services, and since it is shared, it is optimized. You don't have extra headroom in any infrastructure, and overall it is leading to quicker deployment and lower cost of ownership. Another example is that of a service provider who is actually today hosting several small and medium businesses as well as large enterprises. Again, based on the Gate System Matrix platform, and which is allowing the users of various levels of businesses to actually not to own anything, but to have their services hosted off CP's data center. I want to spend a minute on this particular roadmap of what we have done for partners. About 6 years ago, we initiated a program called the HP Partner Pre-Sales Community Program, which was targeted at skilling our pre-sales folks of our partner organizations to be able to be actually trusted advisors, or to act in a consultative mode, to do consultative selling for our customers. Now, over time, we have oriented our training to the evolving trends. So we did, purely I'm talking from the automation and the cloud perspective, a shared services perspective, we introduced a blade systems-related training. And then we also introduced a lot of software-related training, like virtualization, automation, management, and so on. And over the past year and a half, we've also started integrating our application software vendor, ISV's applications into the Blade Matrix template to be able to automate the design, deployment, and event-based deployment of applications. And very recently, we've done several engagements starting from the CIO level or the management level of our partner organizations, the sales folks as well as the pre-sales folks. So we've addressed them in many ways in terms of being able to how they are to really reorient their thinking, reorient their approach to be able to deal with the new enablers and the disruptions of shared services. So having a very, very large partner ecosystem, we believe that coupling our partner ecosystem and our reach and the partner skills, along with the vast intellectual property that HP brings with over 3 decades of computing, going back to fault-tolerant systems and very robust and mature enterprise-class systems, we will be able to deliver the right skills which will be needed by our end customers to be able to leverage emerging technologies and then to deploy services at lower cost and quicker time to market. So that's what I had to share.